Hey, good morning. Pete, North Las Vegas. My barrel came in. Got here pretty quick. And this will be video 3 of my Colt A2 HBAR clone build. So let's get into the barrel today. Okay, so first of all, this thing is just soaking in oil. That's a good thing. So we're going to get this barrel cleaned up before we get started talking about it. I'm going to be using this SuperTech, and this is the good stuff here, made in the US, and anything that's got a skull and crossbones on it, there's a good chance that it works really good. All right, so let's get this thing cleaned up. Okay, so before we actually get into looking at the barrel, I thought we'd talk about Criterion really quick. Criterion Barrels was co-founded by John Krieger in 1999. And for those of you familiar with Premier Precision Barrels, Krieger Barrels has been around since 1982. And he single cut his barrels 1/10,000th of an inch at a time. And then ended up hand lapping them and polishing them and to the final dimension down to 16 microns. And so I think Krieger is generally accepted as pretty good barrels, but Krieger kind of realized that the average beer drinker probably wasn't going to be willing to spend that kind of money on his name barrel. So he co-founded Criterion and wanted to build a more affordable but still match grade barrel. And I think he did accomplish that. So Criterion is kind of a spin-off barrel company of Krieger barrels. So for those of you that maybe didn't know that about Criterion, this is my 5th Criterion barrel. I've had very good results with them on all my builds. So I'm a Criterion barrel fan. Okay, so I looked around quite a bit online, off and on, for a while, and I could not find an original dimension or style Colt A2 HBAR barrel, which is 20-inch chrome line, 1-in-7, 5.56 chamber. Nobody's making them anymore. I did find a couple of places that had them listed at their site, but they're out of stock. And then one of the manufacturers I didn't really trust as far as their quality goes. So I ended up getting this Criterion 20-inch HBAR, manganese phosphate or parkerized finish, whatever you'd like to call it. And that's as close as I could get. 2-3 wild, 1-in-8, which is fine. I have no issues with that. And if I didn't already just mention it, this is also chrome lined. So anyway, we'll kind of just do an exterior look at this thing, and so far it looks spotless. There's not a scratch on it. Criterion does dimple all of their barrels. So there's a couple of bigger brands out there that don't do this. I believe that Ballistic Advantage does not dimple. Faxon Barrels does not dimple. So that's another good thing about Criterion. Okay, so this barrel comes with the M4 cut barrel extensions. Okay, so before we go any further with the barrel, I already mentioned that this has the M4 cut barrel extension, and you can see the receiver has the M4 cutouts. Now, M4 with M4, perfect. If you had a rifle cut receiver and you're using a rifle cut barrel extension, that's good. M4 cuts on your barrel with a rifle cut receiver, it's not ideal, but it'll work. What you do not want to do is a rifle cut barrel on an M4 cut receiver. That is going to cause you problems. You don't want to do that. Okay, so barrel extension to receiver fit It's not quite as snug as I would like it, but it's not bad. I mean, it doesn't wiggle around or click. So pretty good, pretty good. Okay, I have the barrel nut snugged on by hand pretty tight. And I probably have about close to 2 threads left to tighten this down to torque before there's going to be any interference with the receiver. So barrel extension, barrel nut, and receiver, that's all good. Okay, so here's our go gauge. Yep, we're good. Here's our no-go. Okay, we're good. Barrel passes head spacing. Okay, so the standard A2 front sight base, non-F marked, because we're building a fixed carry handle version here. I left it off center just so you can see the dimple on the barrel. You can see that it lines up almost perfectly, which means that the gas port will be lined up perfectly. The handguard end cap is nice and snug. So the front sight base, good fit. Now I'm going to measure this thing just to double check and make sure that it's standard A2 dimension and that Fulton Armory didn't sneak in an F marked that they just forgot to mark. Okay, so looks like we came in about 10 thousandths short according to these cheap calipers. We should be coming in at about 1.94, so that pointer should be sitting on 40. But that's pretty close. We're not going to sweat that. Okay, so if you got OCD, like I often do, even though this FSB looks like it came in a little bit short, they do sell taller sight posts. So you can order yourself a taller sight post, and if that ends up being too tall after you fix that, you can take a file and you can get this thing, you know, to where everything's dialed in perfect as can be. Anyway, I don't know if I already showed this. I may have caught it on camera a little bit, but there's a difference between F and standard on the front sight base. And there's also different detachable carry handles that you got to watch out for. Okay, so I was hoping that maybe I would get lucky and we'd just be able to put this A2 flash hider, commonly referred to as bird cage, and still be able to torque it and get under torque, maximum torque. But nah, that's not going to happen. So we're going to need a washer. And to make this build a more authentic build, I'm going to be using this peel washer. And this might look like a solid spacer, but it's not. It's a bunch of really tight, small washers all stacked together. And I'm trying to get a good angle here. You can see some of it. I want to say they're 2 thousandths each, maybe. Maybe they're more than that. I don't know what the thickness of each individual peel is, but according to the Marine Corps, that's what you do. Okay, so what is the torque value for an A2, according to the Marine Corps? Okay, so this is just my personal feelings. I feel that even 15 foot-pounds might be a little bit much. And I'm probably going to try to get the peel washers and the flash suppressor, flash hider, A2 bird cage. Probably around 12 foot-pounds would be ideal for me. But that's the official range. Okay, so one of the first things I like to look at is the gas port. And this is very nicely done. And if anybody from Wilson Combat is watching, this is how your gas port should look before you ship it to the customer. Not all full of leftover chips and things still hanging on to the edge of the gas port that have to be knocked out with a cleaning rod. So Criterion did a very, very nice job on this gas port. All right, so the other thing I like to focus in on is the towards the end of the chamber where the lands and the grooves and the rifling is, and see how that all looks. So we'll go down there and look. I'm not going to show you the whole entire rifle, but it all looks really good. So let's take a look at the chamber, see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm checking the chamber, and the chamber finish is really nice. No defects. It's all nice and shiny and smooth. Now you get in here to the throat area, right about where the lands and the grooves meet up. I'm not going to twirl around the whole barrel, but this is very nicely done. They're all symmetrical, and they're all very even where they start with the barrel. So that's all looking really good. Got one last check on the barrel, and then I'll give you some final thoughts, and this video will be over. Okay, so this is a barrel bore straightness gauge. Accurate to 1/10,000th. Not 1,000th, 1/10,000th. That is just how straight this thing is. And I think you saw PTG on the gauge. It's a Pacific tooling gauge. So we're going to pop this through the barrel and make sure that this barrel's straight and does not have the ability to shoot around corners. Okay, so if everything goes according to plan, it should just fall through the barrel. Well, there it is. Now, some of you out there might actually want a barrel that shoots around corners, but I don't. All right, some final thoughts, and then that'll be the end of this video. Okay, so I'm satisfied that Criterion has once again sent me another fine barrel. We'll find out for sure when we get everything put together and fire it, how well it shoots. Sometimes everything can look good and everything measures good, and you get it out there and it doesn't want to shoot anything. Okay, front sight base. I am not going to install this myself. I understand my own limitations and the tools that I have to do things around here. I'll be sending this up to Trajectory Arms up in Utah to have this taper pinned on. And if you watch some other videos, you'll see other guys that will tap this hole that they use to drill a gas port. They'll tap that at 832, thread it, and then they'll just use the dimple to put it on. And then some guys will drill through the bayonet lug. Some guys will take the bayonet lug off and drill another hole and tap it for 2 set screws. And my personal feelings are, if you're going to use a front sight base, get it taper pinned. I don't think the set screw method is going to be as robust. And if you end up banging your rifle around, even with the set screws being nice and tight and everything dimpled, you still may knock this out of alignment. I mean, all it takes is a degree or so to knock this off, and then you got a canted front sight, and you got a rifle that's not going to be lined up anymore. So anyway, yeah, Trajectory Arms, going to give them a try. I'm going to call them up Monday, figure out the best way to get them all the parts. So I'll be sending the FSB handguard cap and barrel nut along with the barrel. All right, well, Pete, North Las Vegas, over and out.